So if we want to get the cat from this side to that side, you cover this side, you open that. You just have to be patient. Sometimes you can get a little stick or something to try to push the cat, but generally, but just be careful because sometimes when you blow on them, they attack you. But usually you're pretty safe here. They're not going to go off the cage. And they'll go to the other side and then you close it. But before putting cats in here, you need to line with the bottom. With either, these pads are great, but they cost money. Newspapers are really great, or paper tablecloths that restaurants uses are great. And if you use newspapers or tablecloths, use several layers, okay? And anyway, so let's say here, the cat is here. I'm cleaning this. We have a water bowl that has water in it. In fact, I'm gonna throw that out. Usually you put the water in at the very end after you've moved them around because otherwise it splashes everywhere. Okay, we put a water bowl before the cat goes in there. Okay, we close it. We make sure, this is really important. Okay, here, many vets and many people think that this is a handle, and if you don't tie it, you're in the vet parking lot, the cat goes out, okay? And the vets do that. I mean, we do that because we think it's a handle. So you have to close it, and then you tie it here. Now, I just want to show you something. We don't want to tie it like this, because the reason is, if we tie it like this, then when the vet goes to open the cage to get the cat out, she can't, and she has to untie it, and then she loses it, and then this is untied. She puts the cat back. We go to pick the cat up. We think that we've already tied it there, and we don't check, and the cat gets out. And also, not only can this be lifted up by us by making a mistake, but cats can lift it up as well. So always, always make sure you have about 3 to 5 of these on each cage, okay? And that's why I carry in my car these electric wires with some cutters, because every time you loan it to somebody, when it comes back, these will be gone, just about guaranteed. And you don't want to find yourself in a place where you don't have anything to tie it up with, okay? So it's really important that when you get the cages back, or before you go out and capture, you make sure that every cage has several of these on it, okay? So anyway, the cat is in here. There, I'm going to close it, and you want to be careful because these rods, there's one way to do it. This hooks. I don't know if you want to see this hooks, but if you do it this way, it doesn't hook, okay? So just make sure it's the proper direction. Okay, now the cat's here, we want to move it here. We've put food and water. Usually what I do for food, I just get a piece of paper, like a magazine or something, and I put the wet food. I try to give them wet food during captures because that hydrates them. The biscuits are very bad for cats. All cats, biscuits are very bad. I know that everybody gives biscuits because they're very convenient, but if you, while they're in the capture being operated, it's best that if they can have some wet food to hydrate them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Maybe you want to say that we shouldn't feed cats. They're going to have surgery for like...
Yeah, that's when we go to the hospital. But the reason I'm saying to put the food on a piece of paper is just so we won't have metal bowls, because the cats are going crazy, you know? So it's better that they're not having metal bowls, and the vets don't like having metal bowls in there either. So we only would feed a cat in here if, let's say I put the food and I put the water, I open that, I put that here, the cat moves to the dark side, and we put this there, we open it up, and And we remove all the dirty newspaper and we put something clean. Now the reason I'm talking about feeding the cats in here is if we have an injured cat, or if we have a cat that has been operated but we can't take it back to the colony for a day or two, or if we capture a cat Monday morning but he's not going to be operated until Tuesday morning, okay? You can feed the cats as long as it's not right the night before the operation, okay? If you capture the cats in the evening for a morning operation, you don't have to feed them in here, even if they're starving, okay? So, but I also know that the vets, many times they get cats that have already eaten because we trapped them in the morning, and in order to get them to go in the trap, you have to use food, and they just throw up. And the throwing up is the vomiting. It's just not very good, because when they're anesthetized, there is a slight risk that they can choke on their vomit. I've never seen it happen, but you know, there's a slight risk, so that's why. And also, we don't like to have vomit everywhere and cleaning up. I've been, these cats in Greece, I have to say, the ones that we haven't fed, as they're so starving, there's not too much vomit, which is good. But anyway, and not all these cats that we're catching are starving, but I just know that if you don't feed them, it's easier for everybody. Okay, so anyway, the cat goes in there, it's clean, and then after we can remove that, and you cover the cage completely, because the cats are much more calmer and they don't go crazy once the cage is covered. Okay, and then we can just, after we put the water, we always put the water in after we move the cat to a place where there's no sun and they're protected from the wind, and there's not going to be the sun coming around later in the day to move on them. We keep them in a place where they're going to be safe and in the shade. And
the water can be poured with a little bottle of...
Yes, and then after you move them to their place where they'll be staying, and at night, like if you capture them in the evening, the cats can have water. That's not a problem. They can't have food, but you can give them water. But just a little bit of water. Don't fill up the water thing, because it's going to spill. So just a little bit so they can have water if they need it, okay? And then the next day when you take them to the vet, you know that when you're taking it, if liquid is falling on you, it's water, it's not cat pee, usually. So anyway, so that's the hospitalization cage. Now when you're capturing, and you have a lot of cats to capture, because ideally you'd have a lot of cats to capture, you have to be careful that when you I just put this in, and I did it wrong, because there's a place to put it in and I put it next to it. You see, this is not good. You have to get it in between, and I'll do it the correct way now. There we go. Now sometimes when this divider does not go down, you might just want to check to see if you've closed the cage correctly. I'll show you an example. If we close the cage, because sometimes when we close the cages, you know, we don't really pay attention if we're doing it right. Okay, here I can't get the divider in, and sometimes they say, oh, these stupid cages, I can't get this in. Well, if we come and look, we didn't close it right. So here we have, in the corner here, it's not lined up. So we take it and we move it over, we line it up, and make sure the other one's lined up as well. Then the divider goes in like it needs to go in, okay? So that's happened to me before. Okay, so Tanya, can you think of anything that I didn't say about?
Do you want to say that according to the cat and its personality, you want to wire the middle door?
That's good. Okay, when we're doing captures and you're capturing a lot of cats, obviously we can use this cage for many cats at a time. If you're capturing a group of cats that get along well, especially younger cats that all seem to get along well, you can put up to 4 cats in here. And then if they all get along, you can just take out the separator, and for the night they can just stay together. And then in the morning you put them into smaller cages, because when you bring them to the vet, we want each cat in a separate compartment. We don't want to give the vet 4 cats like this. So we can have 2 cats in here, and if that's the case, before you put the cats in, set up your water things, and then let's say we're gonna have 2 cats for the night here. 2 cats that don't especially get along together, okay? So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of these, and we're just going to attach this to the side. I'm just going to attach it, because I've seen cats easily lift that up, and I find them both on the same side. If they get along, that's fine. But if they don't get along, it's not good, because there's always one that's going to beat up the other one and they can't get out. So, but if they don't get along, and if you've got a really nasty cat, I'd try to put it in just a separate cage, or give it a whole cage by itself. But if you really don't have a choice, you can put 2 cats that hate each other in here. Just make sure that you have this tied so they can't get it out. Well, even there, he's not going to slip under there, but you know, tie it so they can't slip. They can't get to the other side.
And maybe just a quick word to explain that the reason why we want to put padding or newspapers on the bottom, it's for 2 reasons. The first reason is that they could get their paws stuck in the grid, in the wire grid.
But that doesn't really, I mean, I agree with you. Like when you cover it, like for example, you would want to cover this if there are other cats around, because when they jump on it, it's true, they could get their paws stuck in there. But I do have to say, no matter what padding you put, a cat immediately is going to go and put it off to the side.
Yeah.
That's like you have nothing.
Okay. And the other reason is the pee.
Yeah, it absorbs the pee and the shit. But having said that, a cat is usually going to and put it all to the side, so
Yeah.
you're going to have a lot of...
So if you have a car and you don't want your car to get dirty, you might want to protect your car with
put
plastic
Very important.
under the cage, so that whatever the cat does, it doesn't go.
Plastic tape it loose.
Yeah.
Very good.
A special tissue for dogs.
Yes, that's great. Something that you can wash and take out, because these cages they're really great for trapping and stuff, but you have to have plastic everywhere, because otherwise they're really bad. And they're pretty easy to clean, because you just wash them with a hose and disinfect them and stuff. So yeah, I wish that there would be a way that we could find some sort of thing we could put on the bottom where the cats wouldn't rip it up, because they usually do. Unless they're anesthetized, and when they're anesthetized, then they just sleep there, and they're there and there, and it's nice. It absorbs their pee, which is nice. Okay, and then it's easy to clean out. Yeah. Okay, so that's the hospitalization cage.